It was a cold night, and the wind howled through the trees, creating ghostly whispers. The trio stood in front of the school's rusted iron gates. Sophia carried a flashlight. James held a camera to document their findings, and Emily, though reluctant, had joined out of fear of being left alone. "It's too late to back out now," Sophia said, pushing the gate open. It screeched loudly, breaking the night's silence. The building loomed before them, more terrifying up close. Broken windows and a crumbling wooden door gave it an air of foreboding. As they stepped inside, a cold chill enveloped them, and the stale air reeked of mold and decay. A long corridor stretched before them, its graffiti-covered walls lined with broken lockers. At the far end, they noticed an old bulletin board. On it were photos of students from the 1970s, some partially burned. One photo caught their attention, a girl with a vacant expression. Below her picture was a name, Amelia Walker. "Is she one of the fire victims?" James asked, pointing at the photo. "Rumor has it she died in the back hall," Emily whispered. "And they say she never left." Determined to investigate, they decided to head to the back hall where Amelia was said to have died. As they walked down the corridor, footsteps echoed behind them. James turned around, but no one was there. "Don't mess with us, James," Emily hissed, her voice shaky. "I'm not joking," James replied, his face serious. "I swear I heard something." They quickened their pace, but the deeper they ventured, the stranger the atmosphere became. The walls seemed damp despite the dry weather outside, and the faint scent of something burning hung in the air. They passed a cracked mirror hanging on the wall. As they walked by, Emily froze. "Wait," she said. "There's someone in the mirror." Sophia and James turned to look, but all they saw was their own reflections. Then, just as they were about to move on, a loud knock came from the mirror. Knock, knock, knock. The trio finally reached the auditorium, a vast, dark room with a dilapidated stage at one end. On the stage stood a dusty piano, several of its keys broken. As they approached, a soft, eerie melody began to play. They stopped in their tracks, staring at the piano. No one was near it. "We need to leave now," Emily said, panic rising in her voice. But Sophia shook her head. "Wait, this is what we're here for." Something is trying to communicate. Sophia climbed onto the stage and noticed an old notebook on the piano. She opened it to find messy, scrawled writing. "I am trapped. Help me, back hall." As Sophia read the note aloud, the auditorium lights flickered to life, blinding them momentarily. When their vision adjusted, they saw a shadowy figure standing on the stage. It was a girl in a white dress, her face obscured, with blood streaming from her eyes and mouth. They bolted from the auditorium, running back into the corridor. But something was wrong. The hallway felt endless, and the walls seemed to pulse and shift. Faint laughter echoed around them, growing louder with each step. "What is happening?" James shouted. "Why can't we get out?" Sophia stopped abruptly. "The note, it said the back hall. That's where we need to go." Despite their terror, they found the door to the back hall. Inside was a long table surrounded by candles, all still burning despite the years. In the center of the table was a worn, ragged doll. Embroidered across its chest was the name Amelia. Sophia hesitated but picked up the doll. As soon as she touched it, a piercing scream erupted, shaking the room. Shadows swirled around them, whispering in a language they couldn't understand. "This is her grave," Sophia said, her voice trembling. "They sacrificed her here." James and Emily stared in disbelief, but there was no time to ask questions. The doll began to move on its own, and the girl in the white dress appeared again. She was crying blood, her mouth moving as if trying to speak. "Help me! They took me!" Her voice was a ghostly whisper that cut through the air. Sophia grabbed one of the candles and set the doll on fire. As the flames consumed it, the room trembled violently. The screams grew louder before abruptly stopping. The shadows dissolved and the room fell silent. They rushed to the exit, but as they reached the door, James realized Emily wasn't with them. They turned back, calling her name, but there was no response. Suddenly, Emily appeared at the far end of the corridor, But something was wrong. Her eyes were pitch black and her face was expressionless. In a voice that wasn't hers, she said, "You shouldn't have come here." Emily turned and walked back into the darkness as the heavy doors of the building slammed shut behind her. Sophia and James stood frozen in terror, unable to comprehend what had just happened. They never saw Emily again. After that night, Sophia delved into the history of Amelia and the school. She discovered that Amelia had been the victim of a dark ritual performed by the headmaster and several staff members. They had hoped to gain power, but instead, the ritual ended in disaster, sparking the fire that killed many. Now the school remains abandoned, its secrets buried in ash and shadow. But for those brave or foolish enough to enter, it still waits.